Tis a rockets.
Fantastic goal by Marco Reus. He's to lay it off. We're going to shut it.
Welcome back to Dortmund Dispatch. Today I'm joined by my good friend Joey, and you just got back from a little trip. You want to tell me about it?
Yeah, it was good. Went down to South Carolina, had a nice weekend with the family. Shout out to my mom, celebrated her birthday, and as a bonus surprise, I stuck around I stuck around Sunday to watch the World Cup final with her, and Spain won, which I'm pretty happy about. So how are
Well,
you doing?
it's good to have you back from a trip, and Borussia Dortmund is preparing for a trip of their own. So
That's right,
I had to
Japan, I
get
think.
that I had to get that segue off. Because they are going to Japan. But first, they had, as they do every year, their first friendly back in preseason against the local team, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. But I'm doing well, thank you for asking. But I'm just a podcast host. I actually live in the ether, so in between episodes, I don't really exist, except to watch Borussia Dortmund play. And they won 3-1 against RW Oberhausen, which is going to be a team in the regional leagues, I believe the announcer said, and they'll be playing up against our second team this season, and that was pretty much a lot of what you saw from the players in this match. Um, like how many senior first team players played? You had good. I'm gonna list them real quick, but let me know if I miss any. We had Godot, Koto, Silva, Garasi, Meyer. Is that it?
Um, I th I think maybe was yeah, I think that might be it.
Because who did anyone else miss out in the World Cup? I think everyone else was a World
No,
Cupper.
for our senior squad from last season, if you take away the guys who have left or are about to leave, um, and then you take away all the guys that were at the World Cup, we're looking pretty thin.
Yeah, and to be honest, maybe I'm not reading the news very well. I thought Jan Koto was already
You
done,
know, I thought
official Como
I
player.
thought that was a done deal, but I was reading not too long ago that there might be a couple hang-ups on that, depending on the severity of Julian Rierson's injury from Norway's exiting of the World Cup. Seems like a bit of a recurring injury, and I think they just need to evaluate, is this going to be a long-term thing that needs surgery, or are we going to be good to go in a few weeks? Um, if Rierson does end up is does seem to be and see, I'm fumbling. I was driving all day. Now I'm fumbling words. If Rierson does end up being injured or out for a lengthy period of time, then I think that really puts Jan Kuto's transfer or I guess loan spell in jeopardy. But I thought that this was a done deal a couple weeks ago, and um, but maybe not. We'll just have to wait and see in the next couple weeks.
But yeah, let's talk about the match a little bit. I believe you had a chance to catch the highlights.
I did. Yeah, it was of course the highlights online aren't terribly long, but I was impressed by all three of the Dortmund goals. I think it was Lerma, then Girassi, then Yamamoto, and the Yamamoto one was especially impressive. Seems like he's a guy that's pretty good at take-ons, and I like that. And when I first saw the transfer, I thought it said he was 16 years old, and realized he's actually 18, and that gives me a bit of a boost in my hopes for him maybe making a bit of an impact, not just in the U23s, but at least having a path to get into the first team. Um, I did think the first goal, which was the goal conceded, looked like we may have let the defense or our defense let that goal in a little bit easy or a little bit too easily for my liking, but um, also recognizing that in some of these preseason friendlies, it's a lot of guys who are are coming back from like their vacations. A lot of these guys haven't necessarily played together, and I suppose one player we did forget to mention who I think is a senior player now is Reggiani,
Well,
because
the
he
back
was in this
line
game.
the back line to start the game, it's two Italian senior internationals, Filippo
Ooh,
Mane and Luca Reggiani.
and
Uh,
they did play in Italy's recent friendly matches too, since yeah, Italy wasn't in the World Cup.
yeah, but I don't really care about that goal for either of them. Not just because it's preseason, but also like Reggiani and Mane have both only played senior football as the right-sided center back in a back three. And then in this match, you had Reggiani on the left and Mane on the right in a back four. And so I don't think Niko Kovac is going to revert to a four at the back system, especially with Julian Ryerson out injured. I mean, maybe that would make it even more likely because then you'd want to play a third center back on the right and like kind of let Svensson invert. But I really doubt that. Like now we're just being ridiculous. Um. So yeah, that's my thoughts on the first goal.
For sure. I mean that these preseason friendlies are always a little tough to evaluate because the coaches come out and they're trying different things. At the end of the day, the result really doesn't matter, and what matters is what what looks successful and what doesn't on the pitch. And sometimes that's certain players playing well with one another. Sometimes that is just the individual talent getting an opportunity to play a match that at least feels somewhat competitive. And these are also games where we see a full 11 substitutions at halftime usually, because everybody gets a chance to play.
Yeah, we should see full 11, like full lineup changes first and second half in this match and then in Dusseldorf, and then after that you might start seeing some guys push 60 minutes, but honestly I don't think you'll really see too much of that until they get back from Japan. But let's talk about what Niko Kovac said about Takato Yamamoto. He said, I actually saw him for the first time on Thursday. I didn't know him before that either. He showed some really good things, not just you, but I too watched him closely and saw some truly promising potential. That's something we're excited about. For now, he'll certainly be with the second team, but that doesn't mean the door to the first team is closed. On the contrary, it should be open, and we'll be keeping an eye on him. Do we think he could be one of the first team players to bridge the gap between Borussia Dortmund 2 and the first team on a permanent basis?
So I pulled up a highlight reel of Yamamoto about, oh, I don't know, a half hour ago, just because I wanted to get a little bit better impression of what kinds of things this guy is capable of, or like what kind of player he is. Just since I haven't watched a whole lot of the J League and I don't follow it terribly closely. I also wasn't familiar with the player before we signed him. Of course, a few weeks prior with the speculation and such, but. I was pretty impressed by what I saw I guess I would call him a bit of a brave player in that he doesn't seem afraid to go into these take-ons. He seemed to be pretty good at these like cheeky little passes where he's got two defenders on him, and it's just like a quick little toe poke. And the other thing that I wasn't necessarily expecting, but did find pretty impressive, was a few of his set pieces. One really nice curling effort that was like over the wall into the corner of the net as a goal, and also saw him take a couple of corner kicks, which were also pretty good, and just a couple of set pieces from just like free kick opportunities, middle of the field. Seems like a guy who can kick a pretty accurate long ball, and we've absolutely seen that kind of strategy with Niko Kovac here and there in the past couple seasons. So I do think he's a player who, if he is poised to make a breakout season, really could make an impact on the first team. And I think we sometimes forget that it wasn't too long ago that we have had a couple of really strong, like 18, 19-year-olds in the first team of the squad. And maybe Yamamoto is the next one.
Yeah, it's really hard for a central midfielder to get minutes that young because if you're making mistakes, it's so much more punishing than an attacker typically. But what you are seeing is just a ton of composure. Like you look at the assist, you look at the final third, and he's just not worried about being approached by a defender. And I think some of that is just like he has really good awareness. He knows where the defender's coming. He knows where the press is coming. He's always got his head up. And this is a team that's at the level that we expected him to play at because this is a regional league team. But that said, if he's getting a goal and an assist every match, then he's gonna have a pretty easy time of it. Like particularly, there was a little key pass he had, I think, with the outside of his boot. That was just absolutely disgusting. And I don't think a lot of our second team strikers are necessarily going to be able to get on the end of it. Sarah Grassi had to do like some type of ballerina kick to try and get the ball. That was up and about his head, but just that like inventiveness, the technique, like there's so many tools there, and like you said, some of the dribbling, some of the physicality is a little deceptive. And that's not like I'm not saying that stereotyping a Japanese player. Like he is still a boy. Like this is a child, and he's not a particularly tall player. And you still see him receive the ball with his back to the defender and hold off some of these guys that are grown men, even if they're not Bundesliga players. That's still very impressive in his development, and it's really exciting to kind of see how he progressed there. And then next we have Niko Kovac on Karim Adeyemi's departure, saying Karim definitely had his strength and Karim isn't gone yet. He's on the right track. What we'll certainly lose is his speed. With his speed, he was able to create openings here and there, but we're working on it. We'll work hard to ensure that we adequately and perhaps even better replace the players who have left us. That will be difficult, but every club is working on it, and so are we.
Well, I mean, you like to hear that, I guess. But it's kind of pointing out what I would hope would be obvious.
Yeah, it's a really curious case here because you have two players to replace in the attack who provided a lot of minutes for you last season in Julian Brandt and Karim Adeyemi, and that's not going to be easy to replace. Like we're talking about like about 30 goal contributions, about 3,500, 4,000 minutes in that range. Like that's a lot. Especially when you have one of those players leaving on a free. We'll see what happens. I don't know if that's gonna be like Inacio's gonna be filling. Like, hopefully he's filling some of that, but you'd like to see a signing or two. Regardless. So we'll see. I don't know.
Yeah, ha ha ha, we will see.
Yeah, I honestly, hopefully by the time this episode is live, we're looking stupid. We've brought in
I hope
Mika
so.
Holtz, we've brought in El Mala, we've brought in Carretzas,
Oh,
and we
yeah,
just
sealed that deal, hopefully.
and we just have an abundance of riches. However, we're living in the real world, and we're looking at a Borussia Dortmund team that's spent marginally over like we had a negative net spend in the first year of the new Champions League deal, which is very helpful to a club like Dortmund. But like we'll see. We'll see how much we're willing to spend. So yeah.
I hope they surprise us.
And then we have Florian Plettenberg via Sky Sports saying Alain Book is a huge fan of Nicolo Cersoldi. He loves the player. Reaching an agreement with the player wouldn't be a problem. However, the transfer would be expensive. As long as Sarah Guirassy doesn't leave the club, there won't be any movement. Apparently, the release clause was for July 15th, and that has expired, so Dortmund can sell him, but that does not appear to be happening.
That it's a bit disappointing. I mean, I think Tresoldi is a decent shout, and I It's a deal that I actually think Dortmund could manage without, without like breaking the bank in a horrific way. I mean, I think Tresoldi could probably go for 20 to 30 million, and I think Dortmund would put that up. Am I wrong about that?
Yeah, Bruges is rumored to be selling Solis for about 40 million to Arsenal. If you also look at the player they sold last year to Sunderland, whose name is escaping me, he played in the World Cup for Morocco. He got sold for about 23 million euros, and he had a lot less production. Granted, he was about 2 years younger. But the biggest issue here is Tresoldi moved last summer, and he has 3 years left on his contract. And he's about the same age as a player who had 3 years left on his contract that Dortmund was linked to last summer. That instead ended up at AC Milan, whose name is also escaping me, which is really embarrassing for me. Like we should, if we, like, guys, please make sure you're rating us 5 stars, because that way we can have a professional editor, so we can cut this out and I can look up the players and seem like a much smarter person. But they had a Ardan Yashiri. They sold last summer to AC Milan with 3 years left on his contract at age 22. After similarly excellent production, I don't think the price is really gonna go much beyond that unless Tresoldi has like an incredible season this year in the Champions League. Like this almost feels to me like something we can do next summer. And it kind of feels like from the change with Ale Book coming in and with the age of Kretzis, who we're linked with, that we're almost in a bit of a bridge year, which is weird because we did extend Mecha and Schlotterbeck. So we, in theory, should be trying to compete, but I don't know like how they're trying to walk that line in signing like peak age players versus developing talent and like timing the right moves with the right guys. But yeah, Tresoldi would be in that like 35 to 40 million euros range, which is very comfortable if you're selling Garasi.
So I
But
just pulled up a little bit of like transfer, I guess you could call it transfer rumor news, and this is Bavarian Football Works, but apparently Roma have put an offer in for Tresoldi at 25 million euros, and Club Brugge are demanding at least 35. So there you have it.
yeah, like I
Maybe.
said, the 35 to 40 range is what you're kind of gonna cap out at there.
And without selling Girassi, like, like this story says, I mean, we don't have the money to bring in somebody who's going to be a striker and someone who's going to demand minutes as long as Sergio Girassi is on the
Yeah.
books.
I also don't really the Roma story does not worry me. Like Roma's in the Champions League this year, but they just spent 74 million euros on Gonzalo Ramos, and they had a 40 million euro bid rejected for uh not Sinistera, the other guy Leeds signed from the Netherlands. Um oh my god, my ability to remember player names right now is actually
I've been so wrapped up in the World Cup for the
Crescencio.
last 5 weeks that everything else is like taking a seat on the back burner.
Okay, so Crescencio Somerville from West Ham, they had a 40 million, they had like a 30 million euro bid rejected. Like Roma might be competing with some of our targets. Like I don't know why we didn't try and sell Adeyemi to Roma the way they're spending money on players who have never performed in a top 5 league. Like we had a player who performed in a top 5 league.
Ugh.
We should have been begging them to come and become interested. Like you're interested in these players that have never done it in the top 5 league for 40 plus million euros. How about Karim Adeyemi? He's actually done it. He has had over 5 goals and assists in a league that's not a second tier.
Yeah, but he also has an influencer girlfriend who wants to be in Barcelona.
First of all, she's a rapper.
Oh, a rapper, I'm sorry.
And Rome, noticeably a metropolitan city. That's all
Rome,
I'm saying.
I've been to Barcelona, I've been to Rome. Both are beautiful in different ways, and that's all I can say.
Also, that's his wife, not his girlfriend.
Oh, they got married. I didn't realize that either.
Yeah, he's officially the stepdad. Let's get through. Let's talk about some more like really silly stories because it is that time of year. And let's go into the tabloids because we're talking about Cream Adeyemi's love life. Um, and let's read our headline from our favorite tabloid. That's Bild. We have Nico Schlotterbeck's release clause expiring for this summer. That was actually a Bild story I can get behind. I choose to believe the ones I like. And that's actually based off previous reporting from real journalists, so he's staying 1 year.
We love it. I mean, we kind of assume. I think most of us assumed that he was going to stay after the injury at the World Cup, and I mean, we were all hoping he was going to stay. But now my confidence is high that he's staying.
Yeah, that injury's it's a thing.
It is a thing.
We'll worry about that later. Every
Yep.
year we do projections for our every player in our. It's separate episodes, but we'll go through our goalie, our defense. We'll project out each player's season, and we'll talk about that injury more then when we know more. Right now, back of mind. Next up, we have a story from Fabrizio Romano. No better than a tabloid, some might say. Borussia Dortmund is interested in PSG's Ibrahim Mbaye.
I mean, interested, sure, but I'd like to know a little bit more. And it's another player that I don't know a ton about. I don't watch a lot of the French league.
I can tell you a little. I've heard some professional data analysts at football clubs talk about this guy. He's really young. He's like 18, I think. He's just come through the academy at PSG. He played about 1,000 minutes, but he's looking for first team football in the coming year, and they are going to be signing the young winger from RB Leipzig. So
I guess I
he's
would
not getting them.
suggest that if this is a high interest for Dortmund, that they should make sure it's a signing and not just a loan. I know I know it's not Premier League, but sometimes these really, really behemoth clubs kind of try to take advantage of clubs like Dortmund and send somebody on loan. And I don't want to see like a Chukwuemeka situation happen again. But I mean, again, if he's promising, if the deal's right, it just feels like we need some players right now, and I'd like to see some deals made.
Yeah, I know they won the Champions League, but they are linked with signing Jan Diomande for 120 million
Yeah,
euros plus, and so this is only rumored to be a permanent transfer because
good.
PSG will be needing some money there. Let's move on to our next story. There was a productive. Oh, so this is Patrick Berger again, Sky Sport, saying there was a productive conversation between Ole Book and Carney Chukwuemeka and his management. It was made clear to the player that the club intends to rely upon him.
That makes me a little bit nervous just based on what we've seen in the last, I guess, year and a half. I mean, Chukwuemeka certainly has talent. I mean, I'm not denying that, and we've seen some really great plays from him. Um, but in terms of some like a player who can be relied upon, where we haven't seen the best from Chukwuemeka has been when he's started, and I just don't really I don't see a player like Chukwuemeka being able to like fill in as a reliable 10 like Brandt was. And I know they're somewhat different players, but it's a little concerning to me if we go into next season relying on Carney Chukwuemeka and Ciro Girassi to find us goals.
Yeah, we've talked about this a lot in our show, but if you actually look at his kind of career progression, he is trending very positively in terms of minutes. So cumulatively this year, he was at about like 1,300 ish minutes. He had another 65 in the Club World Cup. But last year and the year before that, between Chelsea and Dortmund, we're talking about not even 500 minutes. And the year before that, you're talking about 250. So you go 250, 500, 1,300. This year,
Was he at 2000?
he should be hitting 2,000 minutes this year, like based off every expectation, and that makes you a regular starter. Like this year, um, he hadn't started over 10 matches even in the Premier League too in a season since he was 16. And then last year he did start 10 matches in all competitions. So it's not a lot. It's not a lot, but we're getting there. We're moving up. He almost had 1,000 minutes, which again is something he hasn't even hit in the Premier League too since he was 16. He's going to be 22 next year. That's not promising, but it's also not like just down to a ton of injuries like that has happened in some seasons, but it's much more about the fact that like he's just not getting played. Like he's getting 14 appearances for Chelsea in his age 18 season, but only 2 of them are starts. He made 40 appearances between the League, Champions League, and Cup last year for Dortmund. Only 10 of those are starts. So like he is fit. Like that's a lot of appearances. Like if you're able to make 38 appearances, you're fit. The fitness was fine last year. If it keeps up and he just matures from 21 to 22, like you kind of can expect a jump in performance. And even if that's just like the same level of production, but now from the start of a game instead of off the bench, if he's doubling those minutes and if he hits 2,600 minutes, like that would make me very happy.
Oh, for sure. And I mean, like you said, I'd rather see it as this positive trend than a negative trend. But I mean, going into the new season and fighting on 3 fronts, it does make me a little bit nervous because then if he does pick up an injury or a knock at some point, um, like what we don't have the depth. We just don't have a lot of depth in the squad right now. And I guess my fears don't really come down to Chukwuemeka individually, but just feeling like the squad as a whole right now is really lacking. And if we don't start making some serious moves soon, I'm just going to keep getting more nervous because it's great to sign these really promising young players that are, 15 to 18, 19 years old, but what we really need right now are a couple of marquee signings to bolster the squad, like guys who are good established players in their early to mid 20s. And we need somebody in attack, we need somebody in the midfield, we could absolutely use another defender. um so I'm trying to keep the faith that Book and I almost said Keel. That Book and Vatska and Sammer and Ricken are working hard behind the scenes. And I think one of them said it in a press conference recently that there's a lot that they can't talk about right now, and like once one domino falls, all the pieces are gonna come into place. So I'm trying to keep the faith there, and I'm really hoping that Dortmund can pull off one of these big signings. Hopefully, Karetsas before the Japan tour, so he could presumably join the team really quick.
Yeah, and just to touch on one guy whose name you missed is Thomas Broik, and he's the like kind of
Yep.
academy head. And this is in like one of the first like full windows of him joining the club. That's when we signed Luca Reggiani, Samuel Inacio, and oh my god, what's his name? Tekon Ektabasi, and Thierry Fideu Tazameta. And you haven't really heard a ton about the last 2 guys, although Ektabasi was with the German U19s at the U19 Euros, I believe, this summer. And he has been linked with some senior clubs, but like this is kind of just the second, like that's the first crop of children that this academy regime has brought in since we threw out our old academy bosses. We brought in some new guys. Their first generation is now like in their age 18 season. and eventually, ideally for Dortmund to be sustainable, to not have to sign the 2 to 3 players for 15 to 30 million euros that we kind of want them to this summer to make us feel confident in our squad. You need to have generations of these guys at every age level, because like we said 4 names, 2 of them have made first team appearances, none of them have hit 500 league minutes this year, and like they're 18, like that's not necessarily expected, but the point is that like you want to have in your pipe, like the point of this is to have them in your pipeline, so you have a couple of these guys who are turning 20 and should be able to play serious roles in your team, and then instead of having to sign 2 starters, you only have to sign 1, and that saves you 15 to 20 million euros, that you can then sign a better starter for, and then you have some 19-year-olds that can give you a little bit more, instead of having guys between the ages of like 18 and 17 who like may exist for you, if that makes sense. Like, we need to give, like, the academy has turned around, it seems. It's just about getting the guys in the pipeline. And right now the pipeline's built, but like this is the first flow, and it's just a trickle right now, and we're still trying to work our way to that like full pour, getting our water pressure up, whatever you want to call it. But that hopefully will come, but we'll see.
I sure hope so. I'm a little bit nervous that we're gonna start the season and have one of like the youngest teams in the Bundesliga. And I know in the previous couple seasons we've fielded, a squad on the older side, and I think that there is a lot of benefit to bringing in all this youth. And I mean, again, like presumably these are the guys of the future, but what I'm nervous about is the present.
Yeah, but you have to realize, like, last year I think we were like the second oldest squad in the league.
Mhm. Yeah,
So we still have the main, like, you had a lot of guys leave, whatever. You still have the main core left.
we do.
Like, Salios-chan was younger than a couple of guys like we've kept in our midfield.
Oh, I forgot about us, Chan. See, we needed better players than him too.
Um, yeah, I'm trying to see. Here we go. So last season, we were mid-table for age at 26.2, just above the age curve. But we're still keeping Nico Schlotterbeck. You're still keeping Bayer. These
Anton.
guys are all a year older.
Yeah.
But then you have all your older guys like your Grassi, your Sabitzer, your Kobel, even. Like all these guys are much older, or not much older, but like you have a core of old players, especially along your back line. Ben Sabaini, Anton, and then you have Grassi up front, Sabitzer in midfield, Matcha. Like, you're not going to have the youngest squad in the league, I don't think. Last year, the youngest squad in the league was Frankfurt at 24.8, and you're talking about like their key players, not even their backups. Like, we're talking about backups for Dortmund potentially, or potential backups coming out of the academy. Frankfurt was starting Jean-Matteo Bahoya and Shanuzan, and all these guys were like 20.
Yeah, I mean that's a fair point. I still think we need to sign a couple guys who are going to be starters, though.
Yeah, oh, for sure. We need
Like
starters.
starters.
Yeah, we need starters. But I think that, like, in the midfield, I'd like someone around the age of 20 to 23. But in attack, I don't mind the youth in attack. Like, if you have a young attack, I'm not worried. If you have a very young defense, I'd be a little more worried. But like, that's where our age is, and even in midfield, like, I don't want to be too young in midfield, but you have Bellingham, who's very experienced senior player,
right, Job,
despite his young age, and then you have sorry, I just got lost there because I was like, Did he
Was
play in the
was
friendly?
Job in the friendly?
I don't think he was. Is he hurt? Oh no. No,
I mean,
there's
he
no
was
story on that. No story on that.
he was probably traveling to see the
No, he
England
did
third
play.
place game.
He
Oh, he
did
did play.
play.
Never mind.
Right? Because I swear I saw someone running around with number 7 in the first half. My
Yeah, he
brain's
probably
fried.
did play.
Um,
I also think Job is gonna have more of a breakout season this coming season. I forgot about him, and he actually does give me a bit of confidence.
yeah, and you have a guy we don't like, but
I mean,
he's
it
he's
feels
a
weird. It feels
he,
weird saying that he was one of Germany's better players at the World Cup, which I mean maybe isn't actually saying that much based on how Germany performed at the World Cup, but um, you know, if he doesn't get a deal from Liverpool or Dortmund doesn't want to let him leave, then I'll give him another chance this season, and I'll allow him to prove me wrong. And I'm gonna still don't agree with many of his personal views, though.
yeah. We'll see if he can finally look good in a team that can be described as functional. Because I will start to believe in the talent as it's described and believed by scouts. Once he is good in a team that looks functional, because that's like he's looked good for Dortmund, but never when the team's functional. And
Yeah,
to me,
that's
there's
actually a really good point.
a correlation there because if you look at Spain and the way they're able to control games, like Felix Nemecha doesn't know when to slow down. He doesn't necessarily know when to speed up, and that's been my biggest thing is like in possession, like sometimes like this can happen with very good dribbling players because they're so good they just dribble out of their problems and then they're running forward up the pitch because they've gotten away from a player and then they're in an advantage situation. But sometimes you don't want to be running up the pitch in an advantage situation when you're just trying to like take some of the steam out of the game because you don't want to get into a track meet because you have a 1 goal lead and you have 20 minutes left and there's just too much variance and it's not worth that type of like risk of losing the ball in the middle of the park. But we'll see. Hopefully he plays well this year. I don't know. We don't have any stories. Any more stories to really talk about. We've been not talking about stories that were on our notes sheet for a few minutes now. So I think, is there anything else you want to talk about with Borussia Dortmund?
Oh, I guess I don't know. I mean, I'm gonna miss Adeyemi. I don't know if I've had a chance to express that on the podcast yet, because when I was on a couple weeks ago, I think there was small hope that he was gonna stick around, and then it was like the day after we the day after we recorded it, all the Barcelona info came out. But yeah, that's not a great deal in my opinion, and he's going to be a tough player to replace, especially for the low fee he's going to Barcelona for. And I think that the only silver lining is that the like the sell on clause, because I think we could potentially get a windfall in a few years if he makes a big transfer somewhere to the Premier League or whatever. But yeah, that one stings a little bit. Also got an Adeyemi kit last season, so yeah, that also just kind of rubs me the wrong way now. But anyway, on a more positive note, um, World Cup was a bit intense. It was a bit interesting, but I'm also really looking forward to getting back into club football. I've been craving my Dortmund boys in black and yellow, so let's get to the new season.
This Saturday against Dusseldorf, baby. I'm so excited. But just one last thing on Kareem Adeyemi. I gave a lot of transfer comps on the last episode. Here's another one. Crescencio Somerville, like 35 million euro bid rejected from Roma. 5 goals, 2 assists, 8.5 expected goals and assists, bit better. 2,480 minutes. The best season of his career, that came in the championship for Leeds United. 19 goals, 9 assists. In the Premier League, he's got about Kareem Adeyemi's best season, and that's it. But it's taken him about 4 or 5 seasons to do that. He is the same age. Is his contractual situation a bit better? Yes. He's in year 2 of a 4-year contract. However, his team got relegated. So that kind of like makes it even out. So West Ham is confidently turning down 35 million offers because they want something in excess of 40. We can't get 30 for a guy with four times the production.
Oh,
I don't know.
yeah,
Maybe that championship season, Joey. Maybe that championship production.
it just feels like a theft. I mean, I don't. When I saw that fee, I just thought it was a joke. Um, yeah, what was it 22 million plus 7 in add-ons or something like that?
Yeah. 22 plus 7 with a 35% sell-on clause to a club that has not sold a player for over 20 million euros in 2 years.
I mean, the only hope is that maybe Barcelona is trying to get some cheap players that they can sell for big money soon because they just took out that like 200 million euro loan and they need funds, but they seem to just keep getting funds.
Yeah, what happened? Like, where's the revenue coming from? Because I thought they sold a lot. Anyway, I don't.
Lewandowski's off the books. He's in Chicago now.
Yeah, that's a lot of wages cleared. Except
Yeah.
they're apparently still after the Adeyemi transfer that's not finalized, going to be spending a boatload of money on
Yep.
a striker, potentially Julian Alvarez. What's going
I mean,
on there?
the Adeyemi deal is as good as done. I think that the only reason that the announcement has been postponed is because like the Barcelona bosses are probably all at the World Cup and they like to do their special presentations for new players like in Camp Nou, and yeah. Expect it within a week or even before this podcast comes out.
Yeah, Crescencio Somerville, 35 million euro bid rejected, despite the fact 2 seasons ago he had 800 minutes, 1 goal, 1 assist. But Karim Adeyemi for 22 million euros was actually the best Dortmund could do because he was on the last year of his contract. But this relegated player, 1 year removed from an 800-minute season with 1 goal and 1 assist, is worth more. Give me a break.
Maybe his price would have been. Yeah, I don't know.
Like
He
is coming off his worst season since his first in Dortmund. Like, he's been in Dortmund for 3 years, 3 or 4 years. He's coming off his worst season since that first one. But like there's considerably worse players.
Yeah, going
Moving
for a lot more.
A lot more, yeah.
So that's just disappointing.
And like he passed the Barcelona medical. Maybe they can't afford doctors. Maybe that's why we chose to send him there. But like now we're talking about like me doing a conspiracy theory to try and justify like what every professional transfer analyst would describe as a bargain.
Oh, it for Barcelona, it's a total bargain. If you're playing like the FIFA video game, it's where that big F pops up on the screen after a transfer because you did such a bad deal. But I mean, it's the 1 year on the contract, and if reports are to be believed, he is only willing to go to Barcelona. And I don't know. I don't understand how this ended up where it's at right now. And yeah.
But like
Because
it's Barcelona. Like, they spent 60 million or 80 million on Gordon. Like, you you can still ask for a reasonable fee.
Yes. So like I don't know if there's something behind the scenes that we don't know about that's going on, because I'm really baffled by by this deal.
Yeah.
And I'm disappointed because Adeyemi is a really fun player to watch.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
anyway, enough on him.
Ugh. Okay, we've hit about our 45-minute mark, so we're good. We gave you guys pretty much a full length episode.
We did our best.
Thank you guys so much for joining. We really appreciate it. Make sure you rate us 5 stars. Like, subscribe, follow wherever you get your podcasts. YouTube, Instagram, Threads, maybe? I don't know. Blue Sky. We're places. We're active on all of them.
Yeah, just search
unless
for
we're not.
Dortmund Dispatch.
Yeah, Dortmund Dispatch, all socials. Thank you so much for joining. If you're into writing, if you're into literary works, make sure you follow Joey's other podcast and his is it an online publication or is there a print copy?
It is an online publication, but one day in the future we'll try to make a compendium or something like
let's
that.
tell them what we're plugging, Joey.
Yeah, it's called The Long and the Short of It. It's a literary journal, bi-monthly publications, and a bi-monthly podcast as well. If you're into books, anything literary, podcast usually features an author interview with it's featuring their latest book, and our most recent episode, which just came out a couple weeks ago, features the author Bailey Galen Moore and her essay collection called "Thank You for Staying with Me." So it's a good time and little different from Dortmund Dispatch. Um, I would I'd say I don't want to say more positive. I get disgruntled on Dortmund Dispatch sometimes, and that's just part of my love for Dortmund, though. So either way, listen to both of them if you're going on a car ride or a hike, or if you're just cooking dinner. Why not listen to our podcast?
I listened to his podcast today. Can recommend it. I would recommend it more, but then they talked positively about cars at the end. Took away from it. For me personally as a city dweller. But no, it's a great podcast. Make sure you check it out. Thank you guys for joining, and if you stuck around this long, we really appreciate you.
Thank you.
Leave a comment and we will respond to it either on our next episode or on social media. Thank you so much and have a good one.